Hello, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are going to have a look at one of the most common problems that flat earthers have. That is, of course, their complete and utter lack of an ability to comprehend scale and the impact it has on our observations. I will try to illustrate this in the simplest way possible given the limitations of the tools at my disposal. So let's get started, shall we? So, what is scale? In the simplest terms, it is simply a relative magnitude, which is really just the ratio between the size of something and a representation of it. A simple example of this would be the relative size of a model aircraft compared to its full-sized version. If this model's scale was 1 to 72, then the real thing would be 72 times bigger. That should be pretty simple to understand. The problem begins with flat earthers losing the ability to comprehend scale when dealing with much larger representations, which for them ends up being literally mind-boggling. So I'm going to attempt to illustrate this in the most basic way I can. Here we are in my illustration software. Before we begin, I would like to note that the limitations of the software make it impossible to do this in exact scale. But I think I have created an acceptable approximation for the purposes of this demonstration. The first thing I'm going to do is to bring in a representation of the ground. This will be a starting point. Now, I will bring in a representation of a man standing on the ground. Remember that this is not to exact scale, so this representation would likely be equivalent to a 15 or 20-foot man. Unfortunately, this is as small as I can go with the software. It is a well-established fact that a 5-foot man standing at sea level and possessing 20/20 vision can see a horizon up to 3 miles out without artificial assistance. That same man would be able to see the largest building in the world, the Burj Khalifa, at 830 plus meters in height, from a distance of about 59 miles. 95 kilometers. So let's zoom out until we can't see the man anymore. Now we will drop in the Burj Khalifa, which still appears significantly large. At this point, I would like you to take note that as of yet, we are not seeing any kind of curvature, not even in the slightest amount. Now let's continue zooming out to the point where the curvature starts to come into view. At this point, we are getting close to about 50 miles away. If we continue to zoom out until the building disappears, you can get a sense of how far you would need to be to see significant curvature. You can clearly see in this demonstration that noticeable visible curvature is well beyond the ability of a human being to perceive. Now, if we zoom out to the limits of the software, you can see just how small a portion of the Earth this is. At these scales, anything you or I can see on the surface of the planet will appear to be flat. But a bit of common sense and a basic understanding of scales at such large magnitudes, and it becomes obvious that depending on our natural sight and other senses is utterly unreliable in the quest to prove curvature. That being said, we can see curvature rather clearly by simply getting enough distance away from the thing you are observing, as is seen here in this photo taken from a modern commercial jet at 40,000 feet. And there you have it, flerfs. Curvature is real, and it's all around you in every direction you look. You are just too small in comparison to the globe you are standing on to ever see it. But if you still need more, I would suggest you have a look at a great video called The Powers of 10 by Charles and Ray Eames. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. It's well worth the watch. In the meantime, consider the thumbnail of this video. If you were the teeniest ant, the globe to you would be equivalent to Nur Alam, known as the Sphere, the world's largest spherical building. So that's it, folks. I don't think I could have made it any simpler, but for most flerfs I fear it will still be difficult. Oh well, at least I tried. I hope you have enjoyed today's video. If so, please remember to subscribe if you haven't done so already. And leave a like and a comment so YouTube will recommend it to others. And always remember, never be afraid to speak your mind. Just think before you do it. I'll see you again in the next one.